So I got a comment on my last video from Kaio Hinazuki that reads, "What are your thoughts on Juha's ascension to power and his almighty power? Maybe you can make a discussion video about it. New sub here, smiley face, or extremely happy face, or content face." Right? First of all, Kaio, thanks a lot for the sub. I really, really appreciate it. I noticed after making that last video, which was my first sort of Bleach discussion video, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and so thank you for your discussion topic, because it helps me make another one of these videos. So that being said, after I read your question, I had sort of my base feelings about Yhwach Bach or Bach, right? And what I did, because I wanted to make a decent video, was I went and read his Bleach Wiki page, and I think reading through that influenced my opinion on him a little bit, even though I still think that there might be some bias in my opinion, and I'll explain what they are in a second. And I also did a little bit of research, on YouTube and some other places to sort of get a full, not just my opinion, but a full sense of some stuff that I may have missed about Yhwach Bach, and just make a sort of well thought out video. So that's the angle where I'm coming from right now, right? Let me start with the first part of your question, which is, what are your thoughts on Juha's ascension to power? I feel like let me start this way. I think Yhwach and what he represents in Bleach right now is essential to the story, right? This is the last arc of Bleach, and we needed a villain that is beyond just sort of a badass, beyond like a meat shield, beyond the kind of guy that you could just punch really hard and have him die or something like that, right? Juha is essentially a god, right? Or a devil, depending on how you want to look at him, right? He is the yin to the Soul King's yang, and now they're sort of one and the same. So he's sort of this almighty, powerful being, and that is sort of needed to end the series, to have someone who could command an army of underlings that could push these captains to their maximum sort of capacity, to let us see stuff like Kenpachi's Bankai and Urahara's Bankai, and see Toshiro full maturity. You needed someone of this level and with that presence to allow that to happen. So, that said, I think Juha is essential, right? One thing that would have made me appreciate the ascension to power for Juha a bit more was if there was more foreshadowing done for him in the story. The only thing that I could have found in his, in reading up about him, was that, the reason why Ichigo's mom died 9 years ago was because it happened. She couldn't defend herself against that hollow that attacked her, because Juha called the powers of all half-breed Quincy's back at the same moment while she was being attacked. And I just gotta be honest, that feels like a bit of a reach. You know what I mean? It feels like a little bit of a reach, right? It's like, I feel like for a guy this powerful, the higher ups in Soul Society should have been aware, or it should have been there should have been a lot of foreshadowing happen, especially when it comes to people like Eisen and stuff like that, right? Like, he should have definitely known about Yhwach Bach, and there should have been references in the story to sort of let us know, hey, even if you defeat me, there's like a bigger evil out there, right? There's this bigger thing that's gonna come, right? And I just feel like there was none of that. Like, I can't think of, any of the previous characters like mentioning that. And it's not that that's a huge problem. It doesn't mean that breaks Bleach or anything like that. Like in Dragon Ball Z, for instance, we didn't know who Majin Buu was before the Majin Buu saga, right? We didn't know who Cell was before the Cell saga. It doesn't mean that Cell wasn't, a great villain, right? And it doesn't mean that Yhwach Bach can't be a great villain too. But because so much of him is still sort of shrouded in mystery, like, for example, why the fuck did he fight Old Man Yama 1,000 years ago? Why was that such a big deal? You know what I mean? Why were the Quincy's brought almost to extinction? Why was that such a fucking big deal? What were the Quincy's evil? Why did they have to go to the Shadow Realm in the first place? Why were there? There's so many fucking questions that have not been explained yet. It makes it hard to connect with Yhwach Bach and really sort of, understand his purpose. The only thing that I could sort of come up with is, Kubo is creating a parallel sort of between, like God and the devil kind of thing, and it's you got to sort of decide, which side you're on. Like, you can see a lot of the Quincy's, when they appear, they have like light, and which is representative of God and angels and stuff like that, right? And like Yhwach's called his Almighty and stuff like that. And whereas a lot of the Shinigamis, their powers are dark and representative of like the devil and evil and that sort. Whereas we as the readers, we've been exposed to the story from the side of the Shinigami, and it sort of feels like it gives you that sense, or it gives me that sense of, hey, are we supporting the bad guys a little bit, Are we supporting the wrong side? Like, is Yhwach really the good guy? And, obviously, we know who Ichigo is. We kind of got to see him grow up and stuff. And, it's just that parallel. I think it's meant to sort of create that question, that uncertainty in the reader. But it doesn't really happen for me because I don't know enough about Yhwach to feel that way. Now, if I had a full sort of backstory on him and I understood why he had to fight Old Man Yama 1,000 years ago, I understood why the Quincy were being discriminated against, or that whole story, why he was created by the Soul King, then I could have probably empathized with him a lot more. And that doesn't happen. That hasn't happened yet. So maybe it'll happen in the future, and maybe it'll change the way I feel currently. But as of right now, I sort of feel like his ascension to power is kind of a little bit of bullshit, right? Like, it's just sort of feel like what are his motives? Like, what the fuck is the point of this? And why the fuck is he so strong? Like, he said he called the Soul King dad, right? Or this is my father or whatever. But I think it's in the same. It's not in the sense of like he has a mom and the Soul King fucked his mom and now I think it's in the sense that the Soul King created him, or he's like a part of the Soul King's power or something like that. Like how the Soul King has an arm and a leg and shit running around, a left arm and a right arm or some bullshit. It's like Yhwach is probably like the evil side of the Soul King, or the good side, depending on how you want to look at it, or his heart, or some crap like that, right? It's not so much of like I'm your son and we grew up together in the past or some shit like that. I don't think that's the case. And I think so in that sense, sort of getting back on point, I just feel like a lot of his powers they're just not warranted. If this was the guy who throughout the series, like, he was being mentioned, and it was like, hey, yeah, I'm Aizen and I'm bad, but at least I'm not as bad as Yhwach Bach, right? And it's like, the captains all talk the like this really evil power that old man Yama sealed away 1,000 years ago or something like that. And it's like, if this guy ever returned, we're in some deep shit. And he was like silhouetted in a few chapters earlier on or something like that. Or, you know, you really sort of understood like how big of a threat this guy was, you know. Then I could relate to him a bit more. But as of right now, I can't. So, you know, I feel like a lot of the powers that he has, he just has because he has to have to make this arc more interesting. And it's almost like he could have been replaced with anyone else. I feel like he doesn't have much of a, you know, uniqueness to him, you know. So, and so his ascension to power is almost unwarranted, undeserved a little bit. You know, I hope that makes sense. His almighty power specifically, you know, I had to look this shit up. This shit is fucking crazy. It's the shit he used against Zero Division Captain. I can't remember his name right now, but you know, it's like he could pretty much do whatever the fuck he wants. That's what the almighty power is, right? There's a long list of bullet points of all the specific stuff he can do, but pretty much, you know, at the core of it, he could nullify and pretty much mimic or copy any ability that he wants, and he could also make sure that, like, when he does that, that ability can no longer harm him, you know, which is just fucking crazy, you know, and that's just one of the things he can do. Like, you know, he has the ability, obviously, to take power from any of the Quincy's and rearrange it how he wants. You know, he pretty much has all the Quincy abilities. He pretty much has, you know, Old Man Yama's Bankai. He has the ability now to see the future. He can morph reality, like, just crazy, you know. So, but the almighty power in itself is clearly fucking broken. It's broken as shit, right? It's, you know, he pretty much wills whatever he wants into existence. It's like, oh, you chopped off my hand, you know, no you didn't, and then his hand is back. You know, like when the Zero Division Captain crushed his throat, and he just pretty much willed it like it didn't happen. So, you know, with the almighty power specifically, it's broken as fuck, and you know, but I feel like this guy had to have been broken. He has to be, like, you go over any of his core abilities, the Almighty, the abilities of all Quincy's, Old Man Yama's Bankai, the ability to see the future, the ability to morph reality, things like that. Any one of those core abilities, it's enough. Just that ability by itself on one character is enough to break the series almost. And he has everything sort of combined in one character. That's crazy, right? And I think this is necessary, and I think it ties in to, you know, Ichigo's growth and what it's going to mean for Ichigo and the rest of the captains for the end of the series. And I also, you know, I have a theory on how I think Ichigo is going to beat him, because as of right now, it's pretty much impossible for Ichigo to beat him. You don't throw a, like, fucking, you know, ability at this guy and kill him. It just doesn't work. You know, especially if you read through, and I'll leave a link to his wiki page in the description for anyone who wants to read through it. You read through his description, you pretty much find out he can't die. At the best, if you could, like, seal him away or something like that, which Old Man Yama did, he's going to come back. He's going to come back in, you know, 1,000 years. So, you know, that doesn't make sense. You'll just be able to hold him off, and that won't be a good way to end the series. You got to figure out a way to pretty much take him out. So, I'm going to make a separate video about that, about my theory on how Ichigo is going to take down Yhwach Bach. And, you know, hopefully I answered your question. Kaio, thank you so much for the discussion question. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the sub. Anyone else has a discussion that you'd like me to do, leave it in the comments below. I'm really enjoying making these videos, guys. I'm really enjoying sharing my thoughts. I know this one wasn't as exciting as the last one. It's because it's freaking, you know, 3 a.m. in the morning, and I just wanted to pump this video out and answer Kaio's question. But if you have a comment or a question or a discussion you want me to take on, leave it in the comment, and I'll do my best to respond. And if I can make a video about it, I will. Thank you guys so much. Hit a thumbs up if you like this discussion. Have a good day. Bye.